It's time now to meet this week's Great Briton. Daniel Fincham is a recovering alcoholic who has set up what's been called the world's first recovery platform. Back in 2020, Daniel founded Recoverlution, which focuses on helping people to recover from addiction. It provides a safe and secure space for addicts to engage with peers, professionals, and support groups. I'm delighted to say that Daniel joins me now. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Daniel.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Thank you very much for taking the time.
No problem.
Now, I'm sure you've got your own very unique story in terms of your own recovery. You were struggling with alcohol for many years, I read. When did you admit to yourself that you had a problem, and what was it that put you on the path to recovery?
I think probably the last 5 years of my addiction, I probably knew I was an alcoholic. I'd been told I was an alcoholic many times by the therapist and the like. It's a very difficult thing to admit because you really fear that your life will be over if you admit that you're an alcoholic. And I unfortunately had to lose everything. I ended up in prison. It was at the age of 36. I had a wonderful wife, 3 lovely children, brilliant job. I just built like our dream house, but I was exhausted and none of those experiences had changed me. And I went into rehab the first time and came out an alcoholic and was just expected to sort of live in the world in like a goldfish bowl, really. And then I started to really behave like an alcoholic, and in 6 months I lost everything. And it was only really hitting my rockiest bottom where I had nothing left to lose. I had nothing left to fear. And I'd sort of disconnected my thoughts, and it sort of brought me into the present day. And without knowing it, I was sort of in recovery.
And did you go to rehab again? Did you go to Alcoholics Anonymous? Was that where you met your co-founder of Recoverlution?
Yes, I did. I did go back into a rehab, and I met Ed. I'd started Recoverlution, so I'd been in recovery for a year by then, but I'd had a relapse. And I dusted myself off after a couple of days and just took myself straight back to a rehab, waved the white flag, and I haven't drunk since. And yeah, that's where I met Ed. And, you know, I came out after 30 days, and a year on, we've launched Recoverlution, yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of people watching will be, you know, very happy to see how you've managed to turn things around after having been at rock bottom and, you know, relapsed and then having to pick yourself up again and again. It can't be easy for anyone with an addiction out there. So what sets this recovery platform apart from Alcoholics Anonymous or other programs? Is it different? Is it purely on recovery?
Yeah, so we're very much sort of shining a light on the power that recovery has to change your life. When I got into recovery, I was looking for somewhere to start, like a home of recovery. And I had this real thirst to get well. And it's not just about going, for me, it wasn't just about going to, say, a fellowship. It was about exercise, nutrition, meditation. There's a whole facet of things available to you, and I had to find them in all different places. And having lived and breathed software as a service and technology most of my life, I thought that I couldn't believe that recovery didn't have its own platform. And, you know, COVID had just brought sort of recovery really online, and it had been pieced together by different applications. And, you know, I was sort of running about 10 different apps, all not sort of fit for purpose. And so we're a technology platform. We're like the glue that's going to bind recovery together, because it's so unique to the individual that we want to offer everything that's available so that, you know, you can get into recovery sooner, you can get the information you need, and you can find the people that will support you. It's people that get people well. You know, having been to rehabs and fellowships, you know, if we can get people to peer-to-peer support, and you can understand that, you know, you're not in this addiction alone. There's millions and millions of people in recovery.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how many people have been affected personally by addiction to alcohol. You know, people say it's one of the most dangerous, if not the worst addiction you can have, because it's just absolutely everywhere. Alcohol, you know, presented to us in all different ways. What would you say to those at home, maybe someone who's struggling themselves with alcohol, hasn't quite come to terms with it, isn't quite ready to accept that they have a problem, but they know deep down that they do? What would you say to them?
I would say don't listen to your minds. Recovery is possible and available to anyone. And it's seeing through the fear, because what recovery, I mean, having been to prison twice, there's nothing more freeing than getting to recovery and being able to live as you are. And, you know, recovery really gives you that ability to walk those first steps as you are. And, you know, we do need, you know, recovery for me, it brings you back to almost like your spiritual path. So you have to fix your body and your mind and then your soul. And we can do that. And then when you get to that point and you don't need to change your state of mind, you don't need to escape or hide, and you can just be, then, you know, you can live. And like, sober living takes courage, but it's so rewarding. And there's, you know, and the recovery community, you cannot define an addict. The stigma associated to it was so far removed from what's out there. It's people from all walks of life, colours, races, creeds, and yet we all share this common denominator where we've overcome. Like, addiction will kill you. It wants you dead. And yet you can come through it. And then we want to help other people. And I think there's no other community in the world like it, where, you know, we literally do, you know, we look after each other and we help the suffering addict.
Thank you, Daniel. That was a very heartfelt plea to people, really. And just before we finish, do you want to tell us where people can find Recoverlution and how to get involved if they want to?
Yeah, so we're online, so recoverlution.com. You know, it's open to everybody. We've got content, community, wellness, it's all there. And it's an all-in-one recovery platform. And, you know, we'll make recovery rock and roll. You know, that's what it is. It's there, and we're taking it out of the darkness and into the light, for sure.
Well, I wish you and your co-founder all the best on your recovery and your sobriety, and I hope you're sober forever. So thank you very much for...
one day at a time. But yeah.
One day at a time. Thank you very much for joining me, Daniel.